Hello, I'm Jim Cummings, the writer and director of The Wolf of Snow Hollow and The Beta Test, and you are listening to the Horror Squad podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the Horror Squad podcast. This is episode number 239. Tonight we're talking about 2004's Zack Snyder directed Dawn of the Dead. I'm one of your co-hosts, Todd, joined with Steve. We are Joeless again tonight. He's working overtime, but he will be with us for our next episode, so we miss him a lot. So what's up, Steve?
Yeah, and speaking of our next episode, it is finally our annual top of the decade episode, which we're very excited about. 1980s, that's pretty much the decade everyone's been waiting for. So very special episode. And once again, if you want to submit your top 10, we have to have it in by Saturday, which is the day after this episode releases. So just send it to us and we'll include it into the ultimate list. But we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's the hardest one by far. But I haven't really looked at the 70s. I mean, I know what my number one's going to be, obviously, but 80s, like the 5 through 10 are just like impossible to lock down.
Yeah, exactly. Because then, the closer you get to 10, it's like, oh my God. And then you have this big list of honorable mentions that you're like, oh.
Yeah. Now, if we did a top 20, super easy. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that's not what they're called, right? So what we got going on tonight?
Oh, just same old stuff. So I do want to mention that we did pick our movie for the movie club for those of you on the Discord, and the movie this month will be Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was actually one of my suggestions. So I'm happy that it got through. I haven't watched it in years, and I don't know, with the What We Do in the Shadows stuff, I just want to kind of revisit it, and this was a good example. So looking forward to seeing it.
Good one. Fond memories of that one.
Yeah, me too. I watched it a lot in the 90s and early 2000s.
It's got Rutgers in it, right?
Yeah, that's right. He plays the main vampire, and then you have
Pee-wee Herman, who with his great scene.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have
Matthew Dillon, right? Is that his name?
Matthew Dillon. Yeah, no,
is it?
That's right. No, it is. Is it Matthew? It's
I think I might be confusing with Matthew Lillard.
So something
combining two names here. I'll just pull up the cast right now.
Right.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. All right, we got Christy Swanson, Babe. Donald Sutherland, who plays like the
mentor.
Teacher.
David Arquette is a vampire.
Luke Perry. Who am I thinking of?
Matt Dillon?
Matt, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's not even close. Luke Perry. Okay, rest in peace to him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hilary Swank's in there. I don't remember her. She must be one of like the main
she's Buffy's like rival at school. Like where she wants to wear this yellow thing. She says it's ugly, and then the next day she's wearing it. And she's like, well, it's retro. Yeah, it's a lot of good actors in there. So
Stephen Root. I don't remember what he was in there either. It must be like a teacher or something.
Yeah, probably, or a vampire.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a good choice for you guys to watch. Hopefully, I can get on this time. For everyone that was there, I attempted to come on at around midnight, 12:30. I text Steve, "Hey, we still going on?" No, but maybe this next time.
Yeah, absolutely. But other than that, I'm super excited to do this episode. Dawn of the Dead is both of our favorite horror films. So doing the remake is something I always wanted to do. So it was the perfect opportunity to do so. And I also want to mention that Prey just came out on Hulu, and it would be the type of thing we would usually review on this podcast, but our schedule is pretty packed for the next month or so. So we're actually reviewing it on our other podcast, the Let's XP Geek and Gaming podcast, and it comes out the Tuesday after this episode is released. So if you want to hear me, Todd, and our other friend Mondo's opinion on Prey, then please check out that podcast. We have a lot to say. I have a lot to say about it, at least. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, lots of buzz. Maybe we can cover a little mini on this What Watched today.
Yeah, if you'd like. I have other stuff, but I'll definitely say a few words for sure.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah. So you want to get into some questions?
Sure.
All right. So you can ask us those questions on social media at the Horror Squad Podcast or on our Discord. All you have to do is ask us for a link. We'll send it to you. It's absolutely free. We have a great community in our Discord, and you'll see that in the questions that we received this week, because the first question it's an audio question, and it's from Weezerface, and she talks about one of our other members, Chuck, who you've heard his voice many, many times on our show. He's the one who usually sends in audio questions, and he does as well in this episode. He just had surgery, so we want to give our thoughts to him. It was successful, and we're just hoping it's for a speedy recovery and everything is good. So, Weezerface, what is your question?
Hey squad, what's up? It's Weezerface. I've got some audio questions for you this week in honor of Chuck, who is brave and awesome, and he just messaged me letting me know that he got back from his surgery, and I'm very proud of him. He did a great job. So, I was originally going to send in these questions for 80s week, but because that's been pushed back, I decided to just send them in now. It's a 2-part Fuck, Marry, Kill. Part 1, Jamie Lee Curtis, The Fog, Terror Train, Prom Night.
Tricky. I would fuck her in The Fog because I think she'd be really fun. I mean, she's banging Tom Atkins after like an hour on the road.
I mean, who wouldn't?
I mean, I bang Tom Atkins right now. Shoot.
Oh, you'll get your chance to talk about that very soon.
Very nice. All right. We got Prom Night and Terror Train.
Yeah.
I'm gonna marry her on Prom Night because no. I'm gonna marry her on Terror Train because she was like she wasn't really she was mean in that one, but not super mean, and I'm gonna murder her from Prom Night.
I actually agree with that order. I think The Fog is the most fun. I think Terror Train, she's just a better character than Prom Night. Prom Night, I don't know if I could handle that. So I'm gonna kill that edition of her. But she's,
Have you seen any sequels? Prom Night? I've never have.
No, it's on my list. Like I had it queued up, and I'm sure at some point I'll go through all 4.
Yeah.
But right now, no, it's not something on my radar. But once in a while, I go through these like spurts of doing an entire series, so I'm sure I'll get to it at some point. Actually, speaking of series, total little tangent. I just saw that on Xbox the Deep Blue Sea series was on sale for really cheap, so I got the 3
How
of
many
those.
are there? 3 or 4?
There's 3. Yeah.
Okay.
I love the first one. I don't really remember the second one, to be honest, and the third I thought was terrible. So, but I think the second one I had liked, but I look forward to revisiting those.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen. I think I've seen 3 actually.
Yeah, you talked about it.
And of course, number 1
on the pod.
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
All right. All right. So, Weezerface, what is your other question?
Part 2, Tom Atkins, The Fog, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, Night of the Creeps. All right, let's see what you guys have for those. And one more time, we love you so much, Chuck. We are so proud of you, and I'm so glad that you're okay.
Oh man! All right, I already know. I'm marrying Night of the Creeps because he's stable, detective. I think he'll be very nice and hit me up with some barbecue on the weekends. I'm banging him in Halloween 3 because like that guy has no fucking shame. He like gives a bum like his bottle of beer, whiskey or something. The dude like completely puts his lips all over it, and then he takes it back and fucking swigs it too. So he's gonna be good in the sack, I guess.
It's a different time.
Different times, yeah. And then I'm killing him from The Fog because I'm just because I am.
Yeah. I didn't really like Night of Creeps. I like the movie, don't get me wrong. Him, like, it wasn't my favorite of his roles. So I think I'm gonna kill him in Night of the Creeps. I'm gonna marry him from Halloween 3. I mean, he's a doctor. That's what we all aspire to marry, right? Is a doctor. And also, I guess I'll fuck him in The Fog. Yeah, so it's
you can do a 3-way then.
Yeah, exactly.
Knock it all out at once.
Knock it all at once, exactly. So thank you, Weezerface, for the question, and of course, thank you for the kind words towards Chuck. Yeah, everyone in our Discord was, encouraging and everything to his surgery. And speaking of Chuck, he actually, right after surgery, also sent us audio questions to show how much of a trooper he is.
Jeez.
So, Chuck, what is your first question?
Hey, Horse Squad, Chuck here. Just checking in from my surgery today. I'm a little loopy, but still got some questions for you. First question, if you were trapped into a mall, or trapped in a mall, I should say, what store would you want to be trapped in?
So when I got this question, I thought to myself, let's eliminate like the food thing, because or else, you're going to starve in any restaurant, like in anything other than a food store. Right. So let's say you have food, so you don't have to be in a, okay. So it's whatever else you'd be stuck in.
Non-food related.
Non-food related, yeah.
Have you ever? Well, probably not in Canada, but I don't think I've ever seen a gun store in a mall.
No,
But
definitely
I've
not
seen
here.
plenty. I mean, I've seen plenty of like sword stores and Lord of the Rings and shit like that. So I think I'm gonna go with
Like a hobby store,
Yeah, well, yeah,
like a geek and hobby store. Like
there you go, like
yeah,
a reenactment / super
right.
geek thing with like, as long as they're like hopefully not the plastic quality. I'm gonna hide out in the Dragon's Lair store. I think that's what it's called actually, the one I saw recently. So I'll hang out in Dragon's Lair and get some like sweet battle axes or something.
Yeah, awesome. We don't have anything like this in my area, which really sucks. That's why I have to get everything online. But there are stores in my old city that had stuff like that, and it was fucking awesome. I always love going in there. They have like Spartan shields and all sorts of really weird shit. For me, it would have to be GameStop. I think I could finally get through my video game backlog, and just kind of enjoy it. But if the electricity is an issue, then I'd go to the pet store. I wouldn't be lonely. At least I'd have
Wouldn't go hungry either.
ton of cats, ton of dogs, some fish to take care of. I think it'd be a cool. I'd be like Ace Ventura by the time I got out of there. Like I'd just whistle and all the fucking animals would come out of hiding and just like do a whole thing. So
both those movies are freaking great.
Yeah, they're hilarious. All right, Chuck, what is your second question?
Second question. Ving Rhames is normally a big action star, but he did really well in this movie. Are there any other big action stars you would love to see dip their toes into horror?
Yeah, I agree. He was fantastic. Action star and horror. I guess Arnold. I mean, he did Maggie.
And Predator.
And Predator. Yeah, Predator's.
And End of Days.
All right, cancel that. I don't know. You got any?
Stallone. Has he done anything like really horror? I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So I'd like to see Stallone. I think he's the only one.
I eat these zombies, man. Let's do freaking Michael J. Fox has been in Frighteners and Teen Wolf.
Yeah, that's right.
Never mind. But he's not really an action star though.
No.
I don't know. That's a good one though. But I was thinking like Arnold Schwarzenegger in like this movie would be really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Bruce Willis, what horror has he done? Sixth Sense. I don't know, man.
Is that it?
Sixth Sense.
I
guess Monkeys. I guess almost.
Death Becomes Her is a little horror.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good movie.
It's a really good one.
You don't think Bruce Willis though, because he looks so different in that movie compared to everything else he's in.
Yeah, he's like super like mousy and stuff.
Right, exactly. Which is so weird for Bruce Willis.
I'm trying to look around, but most of my shit is all horror. So it's just kind of. I don't know. Good question. What about
Steven Seagal?
I was just gonna say that. I'm gonna get a bus and we're gonna put some barbed wire on it. I gotta get some propane tanks.
Yeah, that would be.
We gotta cover one of his new movies that everyone makes fun of. That'd be hilarious.
God, they're so
good.
All those actors make so many fucking movies now.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce Willis, up until sadly he had to stop for what he was fighting there, but Bruce Willis had like 8 movies a year. Steven Seagal has a bunch. Van Damme has a bunch. It's crazy. Like you see all these, and you've never heard of these movies before, but they're on Netflix and Prime, and you're like, what is this?
Have any of these guys made? I guess Sly, right? He does a lot of, like he just did Rambo, which was a major theater release a couple years back.
Oh yeah.
So he's still doing like mainstream stuff.
Oh, yeah,
I know. Other ones?
He was in Creed, and Expendables 4 is going to be a major release. Schwarzenegger has.
Well, he did the last Terminator, Dark Fate.
That's really the last one I can think of that was like a theater release, right? He's also relegated to the Netflix Prime type thing.
Yeah, I never liked Steven Seagal though. He can suck.
Me neither. Never. No, and my dad used to make me watch him all the time.
My dad did too, dude. It was like, what was their problem? Why they like Seagal so much?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hard to kill.
Right. And Chuck doesn't have a third question, but he wants to thank everyone. So Chuck, take it away.
Last question isn't really a question. I just want to tell everybody thank you for the support and the love that I received today and prior to the surgery. I'm gonna take a nap now and hopefully wake up feeling a little better. But yeah, just wanted to show some love to everybody. Thank y'all. Y'all have a great episode, and I look forward to listening to it.
Hang in there, Chuck. I'm not on Discord as much as I would love to, but thanks for saying the question right after surgery, man. You're hardcore.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The next questions we got over on our Discord. The first one's from Rise Horror Corner. They go to a mall in this movie for safety. What place would you choose if you could pick any place? So the pick you had was based off security, right? Because you'd have like access to swords and stuff. Is that why you had picked it?
Yeah.
What about, so I'll reverse it. So for me, I'll pick something that's more of a useful pick, and you have to pick something more for like to entertain yourself because you'll be bored for months.
Okay, entertainment pick. Because my original pick would have been Costco or Sam's Club or.
Are they
any
malls? Like they're not malls here. They're separate buildings. So
They're separate buildings.
right. So don't count.
Oh, it has to be a mall.
It
It
has
has
to
to
be
be
a mall.
mall related.
Yeah.
Oh, for entertainment purposes. Do you guys have Spencer's up there?
No.
All right, Spencer's is like a sex shop, kind of, but it's more like. Do you have a Hot Topic?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like Hot Topic.
That has like
more-
bongs and like sex
bongs
toys and
dil-
stuff.
bongs and dildos. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We have a store like that, but it's not called Spencer's.
Yeah, lots of dildos and lots of like like fake breasts that shoot out beer and stuff like that. So I'm going there just to have a hoot and a holler.
Yeah, awesome. As far as for me with security, I'd probably go to a store that's uniquely Canadian called Canadian Tire, which is basically like a hardware store for Canadians. So there's a lot of stuff that you could buy there. There's hunting gear and fishing gear and gardening stuff. So there'd be all sorts of stuff, machetes and that kind of stuff. So that's probably what I would pick if I were to go
Nice.
the safety route. So for our last question this week comes to us from Cody, Odd Job versus 007. He says he's crunching on his 80s list, which I think a lot of us are. I consider this one of the better remakes. Everyone rank and name 5 of their other favorite horror remakes. I didn't rank them. I just took my 5 favorite horror remakes I could think of off the top of my head.
Okay.
For me, it's Night of the Living Dead from 1990. Evil Dead from 2013, I think. The Fly from the 80s. The Thing from 82. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003.
Okay.
Those are probably my 5 favorite horror remakes I can think of.
Yeah, not ranked at all either. So I'm going Dawn of the Dead. Are we allowed to include Dawn of the Dead?
I took it off because, Dawn of the Dead would have been in my 5, but I went outside of Dawn of the Dead.
All right. Well, I'm leaving it in. Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, The Thing, The Blob, which needs more love, and The Hills Have Eyes remake, which I think is
It's
fucking great. Yeah,
it's fucking creepy.
it's
and
so good.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, but The Fly you mentioned's super good, obviously.
Evil Dead.
TCM, Evil Dead's fucking great too.
Yeah, another one that was like, and we'll talk about it during our Dawn of the Dead review, I'm sure. But I went in with the attitude of, "There's no fucking way this will be good because they can't remake the Evil Dead." And then I came out like, "Wow, that was fucking awesome." Yeah. So that's all the questions we got this week. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. We couldn't do this segment without you. And now, a word from Deadly Grounds Coffee.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds Coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds Coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
All right, what watched or read or something another? I have a book from Joe Hill. It's called 20th Century Ghost. Joe Hill's the son of Stephen King, for all the book guys out there, guys and girls. And I read this one specifically because it had the Black Phone short story in there. And it was okay, the Black Phone short story, but I think it's one of the rare ones when the movie is better. The short story is like extremely short. I forget how long it is, but it's over in, a blink of an eye. Couple key differences are the grabber doesn't wear masks, if I remember correctly. He's extremely obese, so he's not like some fit Ethan Hawke like guy. There's not a lot of like other kid ghost kind of thing. It's a short story, so I would definitely recommend checking out because it's like not a big commitment. You can get it over with if you only read that story. But as far as 20th Century Ghost goes on a whole, I thought it was fantastic. It had a ton of really good short stories in there, from a ghost haunting a movie theater because she died in the movie theater. Now she's constantly in there for like new releases and old films, and the theater's slowly like falling apart and being decrepit. And the owner that knows she's there, like worries that like what's gonna happen to her once the theater goes bankrupt. So that's a really good one. And just like a lot of other good titles in there. So 20th Century Ghosts was a book I read. Let me see if my letterbox has anything here. Well, okay. And then I guess I'll talk briefly about Prey, even though, like Steve said, we're going to talk about on Let's XP Geek and Gaming podcast. That came out 2022 on Hulu, and man, long story short, really enjoyed it. We'll talk about more in depth why later. But a solid entry in the franchise. It really goes back to its roots of the first one, where it's like a cat and mouse game towards the end there. Very little cheese. CGI is a little rough at points, but overall, Prey was very good. So I'd recommend it for anyone that likes Predator or wants to see a solid action / horror movie that has a different little spin on it, where this one's set with Native Americans only, and I believe the entire cast is actual Native Americans cast as well. And it has an alternate audio track or whatever with
with just the Comanche, I think it's
Comanche, yeah, which I gotta check out. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, exactly. So something interesting about Prey, if you haven't seen, is that well, at least the version I watched, they don't subtitle anything. So when they're speaking English, it's in English. When it's Comanche, and when it's French, it's French. Now, of course, I have the privilege of knowing 2 of those languages, but I still couldn't understand half of the French because they spoke such fucking terrible French. Like,
dude, they were like, I'm like, how they're trying to make these guys so evil,
right?
What the hell?
Like, I couldn't even understand what they were saying, and I speak French fluently. It's anyway. But I thought that was a cool aspect, and I agree. It's a really solid entry in the Predator franchise, and it's fucking brutal. Like, there's a lot of kills and blood and everything like that. But I will say, trigger warning: a lot of animal killings and deaths in this movie. So if you're if you have a hard time with that, this might not be the movie for you, because there's a lot in this movie. But I'll talk about.
It's not like cute animal deaths, though.
No, but still, I mean,
it's not like a little like fucking.
Right, but there's still a lot of
squirrel.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so if you want to check out our review, Let's XP Geeky Gaming podcast. We don't usually do horror movies, but it's kind of in the middle of sci-fi and horror. And since we didn't really have time to do it on this podcast, we were doing it on the other one. And since it was like a sci-fi thing, and we're big Schwarzenegger fans on that podcast, so it's a Schwarzenegger franchise with Predator, so it's kind of fits into that one a little bit more. As for mine, my first one this week is a movie from 2022 that I watched over on Shudder. It's called Allegoria. So this one is actually directed by Rob Zombie's brother, Spider-1. So this movie is an anthology film. It's little short stories about different like artistic visionaries, I guess you could say. Like, one of them is a painter, one of them's like an acting coach, one of them is a musician. So it's like from the different perspective of different types of arts, and they each have some kind of demon or ghost or something happen within their little art form. And that's basically the premise of the film. Is just these kind of short 15-minute segments of their art form, and then something crazy happening, and then it moves on to the next one. I was really curious to see what this would be about, because it is directed by Rob Zombie's brother. I can't say I'm super familiar with Spider-1. I know he's a musician and he does stuff like that, and he's also a big horror fan, so of course that's interesting. Rob Zombie to me is a hit and miss as far as horror goes. Love more of his early stuff, a little bit less of his later stuff, but I was interested in checking it out. But I gotta say, this movie was definitely not for me. I thought it was a little boring. The dialogue was so pretentious, and I hate saying that word, but that's how it felt to me. Like, it was trying to be kind of high art, that type of dialogue. It just didn't sit well with me. I don't know. It just felt too
a little full of himself there.
Yeah, right, exactly. It was just too like preachy, and I don't know, that kind of stuff. I also didn't think it was very scary, other than one segment with the painting that I thought was really fucking cool, which was by far my favorite one, and really the only one I could say I really enjoyed. The rest of them just really didn't do it for me. I like the idea of the film. I thought it was an interesting premise, because I'm a sucker for anthologies and everything like that. But if I was going to recommend a movie, this would not be it. However, it is very popular on, like, if you go on Letterboxd, it's got a lot of like kind of 3-star and up reviews. Now, I did read some of the reviews, and a lot of them, I didn't see this movie, but I like Spider-1, so I'm giving it 5 stars. I saw like a lot of stuff like that. So, go in with it with your own opinion. I did see people on Twitter that I respect that really loved it. That's just mine personally, not my type of film. So it is a hard pass for me. And my other film that I want to talk about is from 2020, and I watched it over on Crave, which is a Canadian streaming service, and it's called Spontaneous. So this one, a group of students, they fall in love, and all of a sudden, someone just fucking blows up in their class out of nowhere. Blood splatter everywhere, and they don't know how to feel about it. It's like, what the hell just happened? They don't understand. And all of a sudden, someone else blows up in the hallway. And it becomes a thing where at this school, people can just blow up at any time with no warning, no explanations. Eventually, scientists come in and they try to kind of help these people, and they're trying to figure out what's the common cause between everyone. And meanwhile, people are just exploding out of nowhere. And some people think they figure it out, but then they explode. Some people may have figured it out. It was
Is
an
it gory?
Oh, it's what when they explode, it's full on,
Nice.
like, blood everywhere. So it's an interesting film. So my thoughts about it is, it was fun because you really never know who's going to go next. It's totally random, and they make it in a way that you think someone's a main character, but then they blow up, and that's the end of them. So you don't really know who is going to survive or who's going to die or what's going on. So that was interesting. The thing that was weird about it is it married different genres in a way that was like too much. For example, the film starts basically a romantic comedy. And a good while, it's basically just a romantic comedy about this guy and this girl falling in love, teen love and their attraction and everything. And then it becomes a gruesome horror film. Once the first spontaneous explosion happens, you're like, holy shit, if that came out of nowhere. And then it happens for a bit and all that stuff. But then by the end, it becomes like a drama. It becomes like, oh, this existential crisis of these characters and what it means to blow up, and living life to your fullest and not knowing what's coming in the future. So it's a stark contrast between those 3 acts. So Act 1, romantic comedy; Act 2, horror; Act 3, drama. And it's like they don't really go back into it. It's just really like cut and dry that way. So that's something to kind of look out for when you're watching it. But it does have really dark humor, and there's a lot to love about it, but there are also some scenes that are too long and too drawn out. But overall, I think it's a movie worth watching. It's interesting enough. It's a cool premise, and it's called Spontaneous. And I don't know where it's at in the US, but here in Canada, it was on Crave.
Yeah, that reminds me of I think a couple episodes ago we talked about something we were scared of when we were kids that didn't make sense. Spontaneous combustion was one of those things.
Yeah, that was a big thing, like, back then. Unsolved Mysteries used to cover it, and Sightings used to cover it.
Severed legs and stuff.
Right.
I'm like,
exactly.
And you start feeling hot a little bit. You're like, oh, is this the time? I think mostly it was just like cigarette-related deaths or something.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I don't know what made me think of this, but I feel like I miss the time where I was like more of an innocent mind and could believe things like that. Like, I miss going through videos and seeing ghost videos or ghost pictures in a book, or like that spontaneous human combustion or UFOs. I feel that the internet killed all that because there are so many people trying to fake it that's like impossible to tell the difference. And that might have been me thinking about Nope again, which I won't get into again. But thank you everyone on Discord for letting me air out a lot of additional thoughts. We had a crazy discussion on there. So yeah, I just miss those days where I believed in these things, I guess.
Yeah, I was really big into like cryptozoology and stuff. But yeah, man, especially with like CGI nowadays, like we got proof of fucking whatever it is, and they show it's like the worst CGI possible, and you have some fucking guy claiming, it sucks. Like, remember that? Did you guys have that? I forget what it was called, but it was like a tabloid, and
like
on
the Sun.
Maybe, I don't know, but it had
like
like
it
a
was
picture
like
of Batboy.
Yeah, the devil comes back.
Yeah.
Vatican confirms the devil's return.
Yes. Is that still a thing? I would love to
I
pick that up if it was.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Simpler
With
times.
the internet, though, it's like that kind of killed that,
That's
right?
true.
But
Did you-
I remember those. I fucking love that. It's actually a song from Weird Al, which is like one of my favorite artists, called Midnight Star, that talks exactly about that. Just different, like, crazy ass legends, and I used to love that paper.
Did you ever listen to George Norrie or Art Bell on Coast to Coast?
I've heard of Art Bell. I've never listened to.
You would love that. I used to listen to that so much. I haven't done it in years, but he would have people on, that are like, alien ufologists, things like that, or like Bigfoot hunters. But like now, it started losing it when they started having, quote unquote, real life videos on like Discovery Channel, which used to be like sacred, like Discovery or Net Geo or whatever it was, used to be like about learning, and then they started having like mermaid shows and stuff, and that was a bummer.
Remember the Learning Channel when I was actually about learning?
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
now it's
all trash. 90 Day Fiance and
yeah,
My 600-Pound Life and My
what
Little
can we
Life and
exploit?
My
Yeah,
Three-Headed Life and like
everything life, my life,
yeah,
life.
exactly. Honey Boo Boo.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess reality sells better than
Oh God, and
stuff
the
like
the
that.
thing that's the worst about that channel. So my wife watches a few of the shows, and she'll like forget to fast forward, to the next commercial, and then like Dr. Pimple Popper or something will come out, and they're gonna show the grossest like.
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah,
And then I'm usually like having dinner. It's like, oh my God, it's ruined.
yeah.
I can't.
I don't know how that girl doesn't wear a mask.
Oh my God, yeah. It's
You would think you'd have like a discharge in your fucking mouth or something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was a lot better back in the day. I remember, shoot, man, when you're a little kid and you look at like this tribe in Africa, and you'd see some crazy stuff, and now it's just bullshit. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah,
Meerkat Manor. Shout out to that show. It's a badass show.
Never heard that one. What is it?
It's, those little rodents that live in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I
then
know.
they
I
pop
know.
up
Yeah.
and stuff. They
Yeah.
name them and shit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Cool.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yes, let's do it.
Alrighty, Dawn of the Dead. This on Letterboxd. This tagline is terrible. When the undead rise, civilization will fall. Was that
I don't.
real? Why wouldn't Hell's Full Dead Walk the Earth? Why wouldn't they go with that?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. A group of survivors take refuge in a shopping mall after the world is taken over by aggressive, flesh-eating zombies. Directed by Zack Snyder, 2004. How many times did you say you saw this in theater?
4 or 5.
4 or
Yeah.
5. I saw it twice.
And also
And-
written by James Gunn, which
Yeah,
is cool now. Like back then, I didn't know who he was, but now it's definitely a big name.
Yeah, both these guys are huge.
Yeah, exactly.
They went on to be fucking gigantic.
Right.
Yeah, anyway, Dawn of the Dead, I mean, like Steve talked about, Dawn of the Dead originals, both our favorite movies. I was the same with you. Like, I was like, this movie's gonna suck. You guys need to watch the original. I even did like a report in my senior year comparing Dawn of the Dead to the original and why you should see the original before the remake, before I even saw the remake. Little pretentious little asshole I was. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead, it starts off with Sarah Polley. She's a nurse, and it starts happening there where, like, she's working late, she's trying to get home to her husband. She goes home and then has sex in the shower. Cool. But when she wakes up, zombies are attacking. One of the best openings of all time. I would love to hear people's opinions on what is better. You might have some, Steve, but I think one of the best openings of all time, where things just start happening. She wakes up in the morning. They are attacked by a little girl next door. Her husband gets bitten on the neck. He bleeds out. It's just a super hectic scene where she's frantically trying to pinch the nerve because she's a nurse. She knows how to operate, with emergency medicine. He turns to a zombie, instantly attacks her. She has to get out of the house. She gets out of the house. He attacks the car. He's chasing after the car. She runs off. Fucking great. There's cops going everywhere. There's people being attacked in the streets. There's nods to Dawn of the Dead with the helicopter, with the whole truck going to a gas station, reference from Night of the Living Dead and exploding. And then eventually she's attacked and she crashes her car. And then it cuts to one of the best opening credits of all time once again. So we go from this awesome opening to this great Johnny Cash opening credit scenes where we're just seeing civilization fall slowly. We had the White House be overrun by zombies with a little cameo from Zack Snyder. We have the UN reporters talking about, and they get overrun during their news broadcast. It's just an amazing scene.
Can we just talk about the scene?
Yeah,
like, there's
sure.
so much to cover in that scene alone.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, it's such a great scene. Like, I'll never forget seeing it for the first time and my jaw just dropping at how fucking cool and how well it establishes this movie right from the get-go. They don't wait. Like, it starts off like a slow, normal movie, when she's at the hospital.
For like 3 minutes.
Yeah, you see, you see that emergencies are starting to go in and everything. Then she goes outside and you think the ambulance driver is dead, but he's just like taking a nap until his next call and everything like that. You know, it's starting off like most zombie movies. You know, you think it's going to be kind of a slow burn into Dawn of the Dead, and then, you know, they go home, they have sex and the shower, and then it just fucking all hell breaks loose. The amount of nods to other Romero films in that opening sequence alone. So you, like you said, you see the helicopter that's like kind of presumed like the original Dawn of the Dead. You know, it's a group going to a mall or something. You have the thing with the gas station. Now I don't know if this is, so we watched, well, at least I did. You did too, I think, right? The unrated director's cut.
Yep.
So there's also a naked female zombie that's going up against a car in the town. So that's a nice nod to the first one as well, to Night of the Living Dead. There's just so much going on.
I didn't even think about that being connected.
Yeah, that's like one of the more famous zombies from the original, right?
Yeah, which is right near that scene is one of my favorite kills in the whole movie too, is when she pulls up to the back of the bus and you see through like a bloody bus window 2 zombies attacking a girl, and like I don't know why, but it's like super effective. Like you can tell she's trying to fight them off and they're just holding her down. It's, I don't know, it's not meant to be like a great kill, but I love that scene. And also shout out to I don't know if Sarah Pauly did her own stunts, but whoever did the stunts for her.
Oh my god, in a shower?
Yes,
in
she falls.
the bathtub or shower?
Yes.
Yeah.
Such a great scene where she runs through, slams the door, and then trips backwards into the shower. It's such a fucking cool scene. Like that's so well played.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I actually wrote that down because it's such a well like done stunt.
It's overhead shot too.
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really cool. And even the way it ends, how the car slowly rolls down and hits a tree, which is also reminiscent of Night of the Living Dead, right?
Yeah.
That's how Night of the Living Dead kind of gets going as well.
Mhm.
Man, what a way to like start this movie. And even what the thing I liked as well. So we're seeing when she gets out of the house that, you know, zombies are starting to attack, and you don't know who's a zombie who isn't because there's a lot of people going on. And I love how people are chasing, like a zombie's going to chase her, but then sees like someone else and immediately like divert their attention to someone else. So
yeah,
you know, cars
girl's
are
just standing there in the the grass, and her husband's like
exactly. You see people get hit by cars and by, you know, it's just like it's crazy.
Good.
There's so much going on and it's so fucking well done.
Yeah.
What a way to start the movie. And then you said like the Johnny Cash song. You know, it's a good way to show the credits. You're also showing how bad the world is, and what an entrance. Just absolutely fantastic way to start this movie.
Yeah. I also love the scene too where the husband punches slow motion the windshield when he's a zombie.
Yeah.
It's just good.
Yeah, and even so like the little girl, you know, so the zombie starts with
Vivian.
Vivian, okay.
Yeah.
So so Vivian's in the hallway and you can see her kind of far. You're not sure if she's you know, dead or not. You assume she's dead. It's Dawn of the Dead, but and yeah, you know, the way she looks and everything, it's just brilliant. So awesome.
Yep. So we're done with the credits and we open up right again. Sarah Pauly she's knocked out from a car crash. She wakes up. She got a shotgun in her face. Kenneth, he points to her and he's like, "Say something," and she says, "Please," signifying that she's not a zombie. He goes off. He's a big fucking cop. He's giant. He's jacked. He's fucking stone faced. He is freaking awesome. Ving Rhames, hero of this movie. So good. Anyway, she starts following him around. They're walking around. They take fire for some other guy played by Mekhi Phifer. He's a little gangster looking. He's got his wife. She's pregnant. Thought he was a zombie, but I don't know what zombies walking around slowly carrying a shotgun in the scene. Mekhi Phifer, but whatever. They also have Michael, who is played by, I believe, an Australian actor or maybe an English actor, something like that. You know, Kenneth, he wants to go to Fort Pastor where his brother is, but these guys are like, "Hey, don't go that way." We tried getting there when there was 8 of us. Now there's only 3. We're going to the mall. So they all decide to go to the mall, which I took a note here. How could they be even any louder? Throwing a fucking
seriously
toilet? Why a toilet?
For sure.
Oh man, but that scene, dude, and then it starts off again where they're trying to get into the mall, they're trying to break the door open, and then zombies attack. It's just like doesn't let up.
Yeah, it's crazy. And how convenient that they were just right at a mall when all this went down. You know?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
A secure mall, mind you.
A secure mall.
Exactly. I mean, I guess it was in the morning, so it makes sense.
Yeah. And immediately you see that one of the stores called Galen Ross, which I thought was so fucking cool, and just adds to the ton of Easter eggs that this movie has.
Speaking of, did you research why she wasn't in this movie? I tried looking for something.
No, I didn't see anything. My bigger question is, so they reference or have a cameo from everyone from Dawn of the Dead, but absolutely nothing about MG. Nothing that I could see unless I missed it.
No, he wasn't in there. Him and Galen were absent.
But Galen at least had a whole store named after her. There was nothing for him.
Yeah, there wasn't.
Not
You're
not
right.
a single
no
reference.
Flyboys,
Nothing at all.
Huh. That
Like
sucks.
who did he piss off to not get
Seriously.
referenced? Like, yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was a cool entrance.
Because you got Scott Renninger, who's plays a colonel.
Yeah.
Tom Savini,
cop.
Yeah, who's a freaking awesome. That's an awesome scene. I would love to just follow him.
Right, exactly.
And then you got, of course, Ken Foray, who plays the preacher from the original Dawn in this one. However, he's like a televangelist on TV saying, the famous line.
That was a little cringy watching in 2022 because he's basically blaming homosexuals for the apocalypse. It's like it's like that's maybe you guys went a little too far. Yeah.
He could have just stuck with Dead when the hell's full. Dead.
Yeah, it could have just been
that,
right? Exactly. No, he had to go into the whole like ultra conservative, viewpoints about why the apocalypse happened. I think they could have cut. Maybe it's an unrated thing. I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know. It's been a while. I mean, I saw it in theater, and then I think I've only seen unrated.
Me too. Yeah, exactly. Because I bought the DVD at the time, then the Blu-ray later, and they were all unrated. So anyway, it's something I noticed this time. I'm like, oof.
That is a little off there.
Yeah.
So they get to the mall eventually. They have, they encounter some zombies, whatever. They end up going upstairs. That's where they run into our security guards, who the main dude went on to have quite a little bit career there. I forget his name, but he's in House of Cards. Yeah, CJ, but that's not the actor's name. I forget what it is. But they're kind of dicks. They're like, hey, this is our mall. We have our own place. You guys go somewhere else. Fuck off. They don't care that Kenneth is a cop. But they relent eventually and allow them to stay at the mall. However, they have to be locked up in like kind of like a Best Buy kind of thing. They keep them locked behind a door. No, actually not a Best Buy. They keep them in like a furniture store or something like that. So yeah, what was your initial thoughts on CJ and crew? Bart, Terry, and CJ.
Yeah, so CJ is right away set up as like the villain. He's going to be the dick of the group and everything like that, which is funny because spoiler alert, he becomes one of my favorite characters because he super redeems himself later.
Absolutely.
And everything.
Fucking nursery school.
Yeah, exactly. In a lot of ways, he was right. It's like he's got the leader of a zombie movie attitude. Flyboy is kind of the same way. He was kind of a dick. And toned down later. Rick Grimes in The Walking Dead is kind of the same way. He's very authoritative, but what he says is something. Or even Shane, like Shane in The Walking Dead was the same way. Where
Shane wasn't wrong. Besides him,
it turned out that he was right all along, like
for no reason.
So
the whole "Still My Family" thing was a little off, but other than that,
yeah. So I thought he was going to be the villain, but I was glad that he got his redemption story. And the other two, you could tell one's like the good guy and one's kind of the annoying kind of teen almost attitude, the guy, like dirty guy.
I tried finding him online because he doesn't have a lot of credits. I found Lindy Booth because she's done quite a bit. The girl that plays Monica, the blonde who Steve bangs, she was on Instagram, but I could not find the actor that played Bart. Like I tried and tried. But his line delivery, it's always stuck in my head since I first saw it because he has this. It's not an accent, maybe it is. I don't know. But he always he always has this weird way of saying things that I like. And he goes, "Shit rolls downhill." It's like, "Hey Ben, hey CJ's Ben Cozine." I just love fucking Bart, dude. He's awesome. And his whole line too, where he's like, "Hey man, I was gonna, that chick from Dairy Queen, I was gonna tap that shit for sure." And then Terry's like, "Dude, she's dead. Your mom's dead. Fat chick at Dairy Queen, dead." That whole that whole fucking scene with them talking about that is just great because it's small character development, but it's big for like the universe. What's going on.
It is. It serves two purposes at once, right? It serves the purpose of explaining how dire the situation is, but also how those characters are. One's like a caretaker character. One's a kind of a bro character. So.
Yeah, Terry. Yeah, like you said, Terry's definitely like the good kid, which plays into it a couple scenes later. Yeah, exactly. But I also love it too, where CJ and them are watching the broadcast with Tom Savini, and CJ obviously looks up to the cop character, and he's like, "See, America always sorts this shit out because Savini's talking about like how to kill the zombies and things like that. Obviously, it doesn't work out, but man, if he would have done like a sequel, that would have been the route to go. Following those cops going around, that would be fucking cool.
Yeah, I loved his little Twitcher comment.
It's a
We got a
Twitcher.
Twitcher, which comes into play just a little bit later in the mall when there's a Twitcher in the fountain. So
it's Ben Cozine, Bart.
yeah, exactly.
Fuck him. I told him not to go down here. But yeah, they start relenting and letting the survivors that lay in the mall do stuff. They make them go clean the mall downstairs, clean their mess, things like that. There's some animosity in the crew though. Like CJ's obviously a dick, and Terry's nice, and Sarah Pauly and Kenneth, they want to get out of being confinement and so on. A little bit later, they're watching some security footage, and they see a truck, which is a cool throwback to Dawn of the Dead because it's the same company, BP Trucking, and it's speeding around the parking lot, shooting off guns. Terry, meanwhile, had let their group out of their confinement to go to the restroom, so they all converge on the rooftop and try to figure out like what they're going to do with these new potentially new people coming to the mall. So I guess I'll stop right there for now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's cool that one of the things that they changed in this movie versus the original is that it's not just a group of like 4 people. You have a bigger group dynamic, which changes the game significantly because there's a lot more. There's cliques. There's this is going to be the good group. This is going to be kind of the bad group. This is going to be the helpful group. This is the one that don't do anything. It's like, and you have multiple stories that can happen through that. And so I like that a lot. And I like that they establish, kind of what the dynamics are going to be pretty early until that other truck rolls in. And you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen with that? And then we get some interesting characters on that truck, including one they should have fucking left on the road because obviously fucking dead, or dead, dying.
Yeah. So CJ and Bart, they get captured. Terry betrays them, and then the group is all whole again. CJ and Bart are locked up. Meanwhile, they let this new group in the building, and they, like Steve says, they wheel in this person that's clearly on the cusp of becoming a zombie. This older lady fucking barely breathe, dark veins going up to her neck. Forgot to mention too that Mekhi Phifer and his wife, they're kind of recluses from the group, where she was bitten and hid it. He knew about it, but the group does not know. So they're kind of like off doing their own thing, and we don't really hear from them too often until later on. But this new group, they eventually rescue them, bringing them into the building. You got this old badass lady. You got Lindy Booth, who's like the young hot chick with her dad. This homosexual man. I say that because it plays into a key role later. That's one of the best comedy bits when they're making fun of CJ. You got Steve, who went on to have a huge career too in
Modern Family. Yeah.
But he has one of the best lines in this movie though. When Kenneth is like, "Are the people there dead?" He's like, "Well, dead-ish." Like,
right? Yeah.
I love that scene. Excellent. He's a fucking prick. Like, he cannot wait for him to die, and then he foreshadows his own death by telling Sarah Pauly, like, if you had the permission to blow my fucking head off, like if he turns into a zombie, and then spoiler alert, she does. So awesome. You just know something's gonna happen with that. And then one of my favorite, going back to the man that I alluded to, the funniest scene, one of the funniest ones, CJ and Bart are locked up, and then Glenn, he's telling them how he realized he was a homosexual about having feelings for this. I forget who it was, but CJ and Bart obviously were established as like kind of bigot characters, right? So it's just hilarious that he's explaining his homosexuality to them because they're a captive audience and they're just suffering for it, which is hilarious. But then CJ starts to turn around.
To his boyfriend, Todd.
Yeah, that's right. His boyfriend Todd. But CJ and Bart, they slowly start to turn around where they're going to be part of the group. Also, some cool stuff too. I love how it keeps revealing how fucked they are, because they meet a guy across the street, Andy's Gunworks, Gunstormer. He's over there just capping zombies off. But when we learn about his character, we also see how much zombies are actually around them. It's like thousands at one point, where it's fucking really cool.
Yeah. There's a lot in those scenes. So just going back to the truck people, when they come in, there's a few interesting story threads that they bring in with them. The first one being that they bring a woman who is clearly like on death's bed, and they're kind of waiting for her to die. I love the makeup effects on that woman. She looks just super creepy.
It was a man too.
It was a man. Yeah, it was a man that played it, but in the movie, it's a woman. And I think this is a reference, but they kill her with a fire poker, which is how they kill Uncle Reach in
90.
in Night of Living Dead 90. So I think that seemed
catch.
like an Easter egg to me. I don't know if that's just a coincidence, but probably not.
It's gotta be.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got to be.
knowing James Gunn, that's a reference. You know, that's
a good catch.
the kind of thing he would do. And then there's the super tragic scene between the girl and her dad. Right, her dad is dying, and the question, like, do you kill him? Do you what do you do? You know, it's a tough scene to watch, and I love that one. I forget the guy's name. He's just like
Tucker?
sitting there. Is it Tucker, the guy with the trucker hat?
Yeah, I didn't get bit.
Yeah, exactly. Because she's threatens to kill him too, and he's like, wait a minute, I wasn't bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a great scene, and it's so sad when the daughter like leaves, and then you see Kenneth, you know, pull the security fence down.
It's a
and
good scene though.
Exactly,
It's a really good scene.
but he waited for him to turn, which
Like
is nice.
Like in Dawn, right?
Yeah,
Original.
exactly. So another reference, you know, it's just great references. And Andy, so you mentioned it briefly there, across the street in a firearms store. I love that subplot. I thought that was such an interesting subplot that you have another character who, you know, we barely hear speak until later in the movie with all that stuff, and they have almost as good of a relationship with him as the people in their own group, you know. I think the relationship between Andy and Kenneth is one of the highlights of the film, and they have some such great moments together, with one of the funniest scenes in the film being the game that they play with each other. Yeah, first they play checkers and then chess, and then they kind of get bored of that, so they play celebrity lookalike with the zombies, where they spot someone that looks like a celebrity, write the name down on a board, and from across the street he has to snipe the right zombie corresponding to that celebrity. I thought that's such a fucking awesome.
They had Jay Leno, Burt Reynolds. They tried Rosie, but that was too easy.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's a great scene.
Yeah, it's such a great scene. And you mentioned it, I think it was last week's episode, during the montage where they're doing just mall stuff, similar to the original. They play Down with the Sickness, but slow.
Yep. Or upbeat.
Yeah, like upbeat and like cheerful, and that's such a great fucking
fuck me harder, Steve.
Yeah, which is so weird, because when
scene.
I saw the movie, I'd never seen that actor before, but now having gone through all of Modern Family since then, it's so weird to see him as a villain, because he's so different on Modern Family. He's like the nice dad. Yeah,
he's like a doofus.
Right, exactly.
I don't know if I would call Steve a villain though. He's just a fucking prick.
He's just a prick. Yeah, he doesn't do anything to, you know, purposely hurt anyone. He's just a prick. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they're playing basketball. They're fucking dressing up at Galen Ross. They're banging and making sex tapes. They're hanging out. Let's see. The young lovers are up on the mall roof, fucking looking at stars, and you can hear the zombies kind of wailing in the background. It's freaking really cool. That montage is awesome. That's a really good time, a real good way to pass time in the film.
Yeah,
and still show a lot.
And it was also one of my favorite scenes in the original Dawn of the Dead, is the montage of them just messing around. And that's only like one night or a couple days at most.
Something like that. They're at the arcade.
Yeah, because he's dying, right? So he can't be in it too long. And it was just cool to see all and you think of what I would do in the mall if I had the mall to myself, and there's just a bunch of stuff that would be super fun. So I thought that was a really cool scene as well. And something right at the end of that scene that I really loved is bringing it back again to the original Dawn of the Dead, you know, and where they're wondering, I forget who says it. I think it's Sarah Pauli's character. It's why do they come here? Like, and Kenneth says, I think this is the place they remember, and it's special to them, which is like almost word for word what the same conversation they have in Dawn of the Dead. Which
he goes instinct,
right?
Special, yeah,
exactly. So I thought that was super cool too, which brings it back, you know, to make it's a remake. So,
how do you feel about Michael? Like Mekhi Phifer attempts to belittle him because he's the Best Buy salesman. But, you know, at the end of the day, besides Kenneth, he's like an excellent leader. Like, I thought he was a really good character in this.
Yeah, he's kind of like the voice of reason, right? He's the one who is always calm, would take control of the situation. Yeah, he's a great character. You know, you don't have to have a super crazy job to be a smart, you know, well-rounded person. That just, you know, doesn't. So who cares? He works at a fucking Best Buy or what other jobs he said they're like pretty retail jobs or whatever.
He sells TVs, and the best job he's at was being a dad, worst job being a husband.
Right, yeah.
And then I love when Kenneth roasts Andre, that's his name, not Mackay Pfeiffer's actor, Andre's character. But he's like, "Yo, officer, how do you feel following a guy that sells TVs?" About as good as when I follow one that steals them. And he just shuts the fuck up.
Right?
Like,
Yeah, that's great.
but yeah, let's get into that, man. Like the older lady character, who she's a badass, man. She rescued all those people, brought them to the mall. She's like, all right, I'm gonna go check on Andre and I think Luda might be her name is. She's Eastern European because we haven't seen him in a while. Oh shit, wrong move. Andre has been hiding her. She's tied to the bed. She's turned or is about to turn in the scene, and then she eventually turns to a zombie. Meanwhile, she's giving birth. Bad spot for her to come in. She comes in like, what the fuck's happening? Basically, pulls her gun out, ends up shooting his wife. That's a zombie, but he's like, takes it personally, like, this is my family you're trying to kill. He ends up shooting like fucking 5 times slow motion, which is pretty brutal because she's a cool character. So anyway, they have a shootout. She kills him. He kills her. Everyone runs over there, converges, and they find the fucking a zombie baby. So she gave birth to a zombie baby. What do you think, man? Because that could have easily been really corny.
Easily, it could have been corny. It could have been too much. There's a lot of. It could have gone wrong in a lot of different ways. But I think they played it as well as they could. There's just. It could have gone. It could have been gratuitous too. There's a lot. It could have been just a lot of things, and I think they did it right, and they end up executing the baby because it's a zombie, but they don't show it. They don't have to show it. We don't need to see it. So they just kind of show it's behind a sheet, and you see the flash of the gun, and you hear it, but you don't actually see it happen. And it's a tragic scene because they feel bad. It's a baby. The mom died and everything, but that's that life now.
I think I read, or maybe in Zack Snyder on commentary, but they originally were gonna have the baby eat its way out.
I heard that, yeah, but that would have been too much. I think
it could have been too much. It could have been cool, but I guess we'll never know.
But like, it wouldn't make sense because babies don't have teeth.
Exactly,
right?
You would have to, no, they don't have teeth when they're born, but still a cool scene regardless. And is that the turning point in the movie where they decide they want to leave?
It is because it's also at the same time the power goes out, so they have to go to the basement to restore the power, and they lose some people there because they get that crazy American Ninja Warrior zombie who's like climbing the pipes.
Oh my god, I it's in my notes. I'm like, dude, that fucking zombie was lifting. He's doing pull-ups.
Yeah.
He's like running across the pipes. So they get CJ and Bart to go down there because they obviously know the mall being security. So that's when their redemption arc starts. But how funny is it, man? I'm glad you brought that up because that zombie's like a fucking orangutan running across those pipes.
Exactly.
It jumps on Bart's neck. Did you ever play the Dawn of the Dead web-based game?
I did. It's funny.
Yes.
I was just thinking that when I was watching it. I'm like, remember when they used to do these interactive games online? Because there weren't a lot of games online at the time. This is pre-YouTube and pre-everything. So it was like this cool. It was just like at the fence, and you had to basically like control the fences. Yeah. I definitely remember that.
Dude, that's awesome. I thought I was like the only one that ever played that game. I played the shit out of that game.
Me too. It was awesome. Like for a free game online at that time, it was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, so they lose Bart. They restart the power or something, but then they're attacked by zombies. That's when they find a dog though named Chips.
That's right. Yeah.
Little puppy that they bring up, and Lindy Booth character, she kind of adopts it. I don't know, man. I think it's the wrong move for them to choose to leave personally because they had everything they needed and it was secure.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, I get the idea, and this again, it goes back to the Romero trilogy, right? It's kind of a Day of the Dead reference. They're in a secure facility, but they want out. They want to go on an island where they can explore and I guess be on their own at certain points and be outside. And so, but they shouldn't have left. They really shouldn't. They had everything. There's really no. They had food for a long time. I mean, it's a friggin' mall. If you conserve it well, you have all the clothes. You have all this. There's no reason to leave. It made no sense to me, anyway.
I agreed, and they had a way to get to Andy's guns to get more ammo. So that's another plot point too. Luckily, they find the dog because Andy is starving to death. So they make a plan where they have some mall shuttle vans mall shuttle buses, excuse me, that they're gonna put armor on and all that shit, and eventually escape and go pick up Andy and get the fuck out of there. Because Steve is being a smart. He's like, well, we can just get my boat, and then they're like, shit, we should go get Steve's boat. So that's their plan. but Andy is starving to death because he's in a gun store, not a food store. So they hatch a plan to send chips, which is, I think, another Steve comment, right? Doesn't he say like, "Well, you just want to get the dog a ham sandwich"? Or something like
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
fucking Steve. But they send the dog because in this movie, dogs and stuff aren't attacked, unlike Romero's, where they eat mice and worms and shit. So the dog makes it over to Andy's store. However, the zombies break in, attack Andy. So Lindy Booth's character freaks out, and she goes over to Andy's store before anyone else does. Breaks in there, but she's attacked by Andy. So now they have to implement their plan a little quicker. CJ, Kenneth, and some others go through the sewer system to get to Andy's gun store, and they end up going there to rescue the girl, get the dog back, come back to the mall, and go from there. A little far, it gets far fetched. I mean, it's a zombie movie. This is where it kind of gets a little bit out there, but it's still like a super fucking cool scene because CJ's part of the group now. They go over to Andy's gun store. I honestly don't love the dog aspect of it, like going across to feed. Like, there's a lot of what ifs in that whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we have to rely on this dog to listen to Andy from across the street with a bunch of fucking weird people. Like, I don't know, but yeah. What do you think about this whole concept? It also introduces the propane bomb to the
right
scene there.
Yeah, so they had the idea of souping up those shuttle buses, and the first plan was to use the shuttle buses, get Andy with guns and ammo, and then go to the boat. That was the plan, but because he was starving, but honestly, he could have survived 2 fucking days, I think. He was clearly still like alive and
he's
moving.
Fucking deal with it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But so they decided to send him the food, and then all that stuff happens. Of course, someone had to ruin it, so they have to do their plan early. But the whole sewer thing, like, they couldn't have just done that before. Like, it seemed convenient to be able to do that because they showed there's zombies everywhere. It's not like a few out there. It's like a concert out there. It's like
it's like Live Aid out there.
Exactly. It's fucking crazy. So the odds of them surviving that was 0, basically. And they went as a group, like a big group, and everyone came out of the sewer except one guy. Which was just,
but she made it in fine by herself.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. So it's just it was a very convenient scene altogether. It was cool once we were inside Andy's shop, though, just to see the story that had played out on the walkie-talkie earlier, because it kind of gets narrated by Andy as he gets the sandwich and then he gets attacked and he's like, "Oh, I'm fine, I just got bit a little." And then she's saying that he's bleeding everywhere. And then when you go there, you can see the blood all over the floor. You see where she's been hiding. So I thought that was cool. And then you get Kenneth, who has to like put Andy down, which was kind of a sad scene. And then he just blows his head off. That was crazy. So it was a cool scene, but it was very convenient at the same time.
It definitely was. I think they should have just stuck with the original plan. They still could have had literally every single thing that happened. Just remove them going after the dog.
Yeah, the rescue could have been that scene, it doesn't go the way they expected. And
because it's pretty convenient too, where when they're on the top of the mall, there's, like you said, zombies wall to wall, but when they get out of the sewer, there's like a nice
right, exactly,
of 2 zombies milling around.
Yeah, where there was a ton of action just a little bit before, and we know from watching zombie movies that if there's any type of action, the zombies congregate to that area. So that's where the zombies should have been. It's there more so than on the other side. Unless they did a diversion scene, which would have helped the situation, where they show them throwing flares, like in the parking lot, to take the zombies' attention to somewhat explain that, but no, it's convenient.
So this also sets up Steve's ultimate. He's going to be a fuckhole the entire movie, where he's like, "Hey, Steve, you need to fucking man this door. When we come back, it needs to be ready to be opened." I don't know why they trust Steve to do this, y'all, but they do. So they rescue her. They come back, but they take some casualties. I forget what his name is. Trucker guy falls, breaks his ankles. Has a scene that's kind of goofy, but still kind of cool, where CJ gives him 2 guns and he drags him to the sewer and he starts shooting zombies. It's kind of goofy, man, but still fun.
Yeah, it's fun as hell. It's a cool. Yeah.
They retreat, which leads to another one of my favorite scenes, where the zombies are all sprinting up and the guys are waiting for them with shotguns or something, and then they pause. I'm like, oh man, it's such a cool ass scene where all the zombies just pause and stare at them.
Right.
But which brings me to a question: are the zombies, are they aware a little bit because not Bart, Ben Cozine, the zombie that attacked Kenneth in the fountain. When CJ goes to kill him, he like looks at him with like some weird recognition.
Like recognition, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Andy does too.
I think it goes back to what they say, right? Like they go to the mall because it's something that was important in their lives. I think they're starting to recognize that there's like a slight, memory
Something.
bank, and they do this in a lot of the stuff. They do it in Land of the Dead. That's a big part of Land of the Dead is they're starting to remember what they did. I mean, Day of the Dead is about, my God, yeah, that's the whole thing basically. But Bob with being former military and that kind of stuff, So I think
say
that's
hello, Aunt Alicia.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit of that. Even in The Walking Dead in the first episode, the mom that died that they see outside goes to the door and kind of looks around, and because she remembers what house is hers. I think there's a small twinge of memory there. Oh, and actually Andy takes up the board when he's a zombie that they've been playing the game with, right?
He does?
Yeah, he just smears it with blood and then holds it up. He's like dead, and it's like just a bloody handprint essentially on it.
Oh, I didn't think he was dead. I thought he was.
Oh yeah, he was dead because all he does is he like his bloody hand across the whiteboard and then holds it up and then like starts going into the shop.
Holy fuck! I never even thought about it that way. I thought it was him signaling that he was hurt.
No, he was dead.
Oh wow, that changes that scene for me. Okay then, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, because that's like his routine, right? So he went back to his routine of holding up the whiteboard.
Dang, that's a cool scene.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They retreat back and they're like, dude, we gotta fucking go now because the zombies are on our asses. They can't secure them all. So they all pile into the souped up travel vans, or what do you want to call them, buses, something like that. Oh, what do you think about Kenneth and what's her face? Do they have sex or they just kiss? I mean, not Kenneth. Michael.
I was gonna say what?
Do they have sex when he shows them the chainsaws, or just making out?
No, I think they have sex.
Nice.
Very quickly though, because they had a meeting, so
yeah,
they don't want to get caught. But I think he gets a little banging.
A little 2-pump chump.
Yeah.
So they have a little love interest going on. When they've been at it for, I think the time frame is 29 days in this movie passes. So they pile into the shuttles, which is another scene. They didn't think it through because you can't get momentum, and there's like thousands of fucking zombies, so they naturally clog up the trucks. And then they like hinge a lot on this fucking propane bomb. We got Buff Zombie alert. All right, let's just call him Buff Zombie.
Right.
What are your thoughts on Buff Zombie? Why was he picking up the propane?
No, there's no point. It makes no sense at all. Like it's just, it's like the convenient orc in Lord of the Rings that blows up Helm's Deep's wall. Who gets shot with like 100 arrows, but he still goes forward with the candle or whatever the flare that he had. It's just convenient plot point zombie. So that's all it was.
Yeah, he literally picks it up, presents it to CJ to fire on, which they could have not had that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He shot him through
he could have just shot the fucking thing like on the floor,
Yeah. So they clear a path, which leads to visually one of the coolest shots in the movie or sequences where they literally use dawn, the magic hour or whatever, where everything's a blue tint. And they're driving through the city. They're going a little too fast, so one of them crashes, so they have to back up. But we had an incident on one of the trucks, people. Old man Glenn, he pulls out a chainsaw. Somehow he fucking kills the blonde chick through the chest, cuts her in half. It flips over and they're hurt. This was the one piloted by Kenneth, and Steve's in there too. This is also another fuck you from Steve. Instead of helping Kenneth up, he gets out of the truck and goes on his own. Is attacked by a zombie, which is stupid. Because they had one zombie on the truck still, and they thought it was a big enough deal, which led to their deaths essentially because they tried to get it with the chainsaw of all things.
Yeah, I just got to say it's probably like mean spirited of me, but I burst out laughing when that chainsaw scene where he's just like flailing inside of the van with the friggin' chainsaw and it doesn't like just nick her. He friggin' like saws her like through, I think it's her shoulder into her chest. Like it's just like, oh my God.
Like, oh, dude, just let go of the trigger, you stupid asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, Glenn. So he has one of the best comedic scenes talking about his sexuality to one of the biggest bonehead scenes cutting homegirl in half. But yeah, Steve's his destiny plays out where he gets bitten by a zombie, and then Sarah Pauli comes because they rescue the survivors. Kenneth. Is it only Kenneth that makes it out of that one?
Yeah, I think so.
So Kenneth gets rescued by CJ's crew, and then she executes Zombie Steve. They get in the truck, but Sarah Pauly had to go back for Steve's keys, and there's a lot of fucking gnashing mouths going on there in that whole scene. So does someone get bit? We'll see. They go to the marina. They crash the truck. CJ, who at this point, I agree with Steve, is one of my favorite characters. He's started off as a dickhead, but he totally redeemed himself. He stays behind to hold off the zombie horde and ends up killing himself to take out the pier, which, man, still bugs me. It's like not on par with Roger. Roger's will always hold that special place in my
Of
movie
course.
heart.
Right.
Still cool though, right?
Yeah. I thought the whole thing was really interesting, and unexpected, to be honest, because a lot of movies wouldn't do that. And I really love that. I thought it was a nice twist. It just that was cool.
Yeah, so that's a bummer. CJ stays behind. So now we're left with Michael. What's Sarah Pauly's character's name, man?
Oh, I don't know. I don't.
Michael, Kenneth, Terry,
Dawn.
Lindy Booth's character.
Anna
Anna
is her name. Yeah.
Okay, so we're left with that crew, and then they're getting they find Steve's boat. They're like, let's fucking go. Hold up. Michael got bit. He's got to stay behind. Anna's like, I can help you. Bitch, how you gonna help him? We're gonna cut off his arm like Day of the Dead? We could go that route? No, we're not. So Michael has to stay behind. He's like, I'm gonna watch the sunrise. Really cool scene where it goes from Anna's view watching him to Michael's view watching her leave. Then he puts a gun under his chin, fucking pulls the trigger, dead. Which ends the movie, or so we think.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What a way to end in quotation marks the movie. It's he's basically one of the heroes of the movie, and he dies in such a kind of unassuming way,
CJ had just died too.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking CJ. God.
Fucking CJ. Fucking nursery school, man.
Yeah, I know. He actually reminds me of the character in the Walking Dead video game that Duck's dad. I think it was Ken.
Duck's dad.
Yeah, I don't know. He reminded me of that character for some reason. Yeah, it was surprising that Michael died too. I really thought he would survive to the end. Being they set up that relationship with Anna, and just nope, not in this world. You're gonna die just like everyone else. And I like that so we just got CJ kind of dying as a badass. I'm glad they didn't give Michael another badass last stand. He could have been on that pier just shooting zombies until the ammo ran out or whatever. No, he just quietly shoots himself in the head as the sun goes up. So
yeah,
it's a nice touch.
I 100% agree. Then the movie ends, but then Terry had found Steve's camera, and it mixes between Steve goofing around with some chicks on his boat to them recording they're down, they're running out of gas, thirsty, hungry. They find a derelict little fishing boat that has a zombie head in a cooler, to eventually they find the island that they desperately wanted to get to. But unfortunately, this movie doesn't matter if you're the main character. Everyone ends up dying at the end of this movie because they're overrun by zombies because the fucking island's just full of them. The last scene is Terry fucking having the camera up, zombies crowd. One of my favorite lines too, Ken is like, get behind me, and they start firing. Camera drops and we just see zombies overrun the area. So all our heroes are dead.
I think the best thing about that scene is they play down with they start playing down with the sickness.
Oh wow.
But it starts with as it's ramping up, and then oh shit, and then as soon as they get killed, oh wow, and then it goes to credits, and I was like, oh, beautiful,
so fucking
what
good.
A good fucking way to make you sit through the credits, which and B, a nice cap to the movie, just essentially saying fuck you to Day of the Dead. This doesn't work.
Yeah. Good nod. Yeah, Day of the Dead, they get the island too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But they're all happy in that one.
Exactly. Yeah, they have all the fish and birds everywhere. It's a sanctuary. Whereas them, it's no,
they're all dead.
Probably,
and there's nowhere to go to.
Yeah, it could have been some resort island or something.
Yeah, I remember on zombie message forums back in the day, we were all like, well, maybe they jump in the water and they swim, and trying to justify or figure out how they would have lived. Now they're dead. Which, man, why did they never make a sequel to this? Direct sequel.
They really should have. I don't know. It would but what I guess it had to be different characters, right? So that's one thing that
Yeah.
you know,
Island of the Dead,
yeah, something, but
Day of the Dead, his version, because we haven't had a good Day of the Dead remake.
no, that's true. Not a good one. We've had
No.
there was one, but it wasn't a good one.
There was a sequel that was terrible,
Mm.
and then the Nick Cannon one, which is garbage. I
Yeah,
think there's only been two. Oh, there's a TV show that I tried watching, but
yeah,
ugh,
wasn't good at all.
gross.
I was just looking up. So they're in Wisconsin in this movie.
Yeah.
I was trying to look up where they would have like boated to that would have made sense, And I guess it's Canada because they're on the Great Lakes. So
You guys have tropical regions? Because that look pretty tropical up there.
yeah, no, not off Wisconsin. It's not an ocean state.
Even like a tundra.
It's like right middle north, right? So
Yeah. Wisconsin's a strange
strange
choice.
setting, right? For a movie like this,
just a random setting.
like why not put it back in Pittsburgh or something else? Which actually brings me to another point. So the movie's filmed in Canada. I've been to that mall before. Unfortunately, it's now 90% office buildings and only 10% still the mall area. There is a part of the movie that you see that is still the same, but the majority of it is a super empty kind of run down mall, which is super unfortunate. But it is near where George Romero is buried, so that's if ever you want to see that.
What's still recognizable?
It's the scene. I think it's the scene where you see the flopping security guard zombie. That entrance, I think, is the one that's still.
Oh, really?
Like,
That'd be super cool.
Part of the mall, but it's changed enough.
It doesn't have a fountain?
No, the fountain's gone.
Oh,
but I think the structure is the same, if I remember. I'd have to look up, what it was, but it was definitely a recognizable.
Is that relatively close to you now, or no?
It's like 5 hours from where I am now.
I want to do Romero's grave one day. Pay my respects.
If ever you come visit me, we'll drive there and
cool.
do the Romero. And then there's also that the first scene is in a nearby neighborhood, and that house is like pretty much exactly the same now.
Cool,
and you can, if you stand there, it's like literally that street. It's not like different, that house on another lot, or no, it's really that street, but it has more trees because it was a new neighborhood at the time.
Right.
And something I noticed, and this is really only a Canadian would notice this. I noticed that this was a Canadian mall because there are strictly Canadian stores in there and things like that. For example, they eat KFC one night when they're having dinner and telling each other stories, but the KFC logo says PFK. PFK is the French name for KFC. It's Poulet Frit Kentucky. So just little things like that makes me know that it's in Canada. Or there's Roots stores. Roots is a Canadian company. It's weird to see.
Was Hallowed Grounds a real coffee place?
No, but I love that fucking name. I wrote down that's a great fucking name. I guess because it was so prominently displayed, like that, and Gale and Ross were so prominently displayed that they kind of made an effort to change those two. But the other stores were clearly just the stores that were there at that mall at the time. Yeah, it was.
What other stuff is because it was all filmed in Canada except for the last scene, which was filmed at Universal.
Right, but
which if you take that tour in California, that where they filmed the pier hasn't changed ever, and they filmed Jurassic Park there too, and all that shit.
Yeah, no, the rest is all within that same area, but it's all changed, right? The roof is gone, it's all gone. So
that's a bummer, man. It's like the original Dawn. It's like you can see bits and pieces that but majority is modern.
I mean, it's like 40 something years ago, so you have to.
Yeah, I get it.
Like just recently, there was a petition to put back the parking number from the parking lot for the original Dawn because they had removed the light post with the number that was in Dawn, and they changed it, and people bitched about it, so they put it back recently. It's just
I didn't even hear about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
they need to put back the ice rink and the clock tower.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the escalators and all that.
JCPenney and
right.
I did watch.
I think JCPenney's still there. No, because you went there.
No,
so.
it got replaced by a movie theater. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which I saw Hereditary actually in that movie
nice.
theater. Yeah, they tore down JCPenney, and I remember a guy at a con had the wood paneling from the elevator Flyboy was killed in. So
that's cool. Oh yeah, and speaking of locations, where Kenneth and Anna meet like Mekhi Phifer's group with Michael and everything. That tunnel with all the graffiti and stuff, that's a nearby park as well.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so there are some things, that
Is the marina a real place?
not that I can recognize. No,
No? Okay.
I don't know if that was filmed there, but
Dude, I want to go to that little tunnel thing. That'd be cool.
yeah, and it looks. I mean, obviously the graffiti has changed, but the tunnel looks exactly the same as it did back then. So.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love little location stuff like that.
Yeah, me too. But as far as this movie is, I loved all the Easter eggs. Like we mentioned a lot of them, and I'm sure there's some that I've missed. It was just cool that they really paid a lot of nods to the Romero's world in different ways, and yeah, it's awesome. And I think that's all I had as far as notes. I'm going through them quick, but
yeah, I had
well, what did you think of the fast zombies versus slow zombies? So obviously Romero is all slow zombies. How did you feel at the time? How do you feel about it now? Do you think it worked for this movie?
I think it worked, man, because with the remake you gotta do something different, right? Otherwise, like you have Psycho, or the same thing and just not good. I like the running zombies, and I know 2002 they had 28 Days Later, which was awesome and a really good wake up call for the zombie genre. So no, I think it 100% worked. I ultimately prefer solo zombies because that's just what I love. But I thought it was fucking cool. Plus, there's no getting away from these fuckers. You're done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I loved it too. I think it was good for this movie. It made it different enough to
It's action packed.
Yeah, action packed. The one thing I do wish this movie had that I loved about Dawn is there weren't a lot of recognizable zombies. It's all nameless zombies for the majority of the film, other than the characters who die and come back. Whereas in Dawn of the Dead, there are a ton of zombies that you recognize and you see throughout the movie. You have the nurse, you have the nun, you have the guy who's going up the escalator, kind of like in a goofy like
machete
kind of stance.
Zombie.
Yeah,
baseball kid zombie.
Exactly. Eric Question zombie.
Yep.
There's a lot of zombies that come back, and we didn't get
zombie
that
steals his gun and
right.
then steals another one. Yeah.
There's so many that are recognizable. This movie didn't have that, and I thought that was unfortunate. It would have been nice to have some kind of connection with just a few of them. Just make him different enough that you see him a couple times and you recognize those zombies. But
that would be cool. Good idea.
It's a nitpick. It's a
yeah. I did have one note that we didn't cover. I guess Nathan Fillion read for the role of Michael, which I don't know in 2004 if he was as big as he is now. I don't know when Firefly and all that shit came out, but shoot, he would have been a good Michael for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's a great actor. It would have been around the same time. So
Firefly,
yeah, so that could be why.
Actually, let me look up Firefly because that was. I mean, it wasn't huge at the time though.
It wasn't. It became a cult classic like later, right? So
and then Serenity was like 10 years later. Oh, 2000. Oh, okay. So Firefly was 2002 to 2003.
So yeah, so
and it was a flop too.
Right.
So that makes sense. Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
No, and I think the cast ended up being good. It was a solid cast. So
I hear the complaint though, and I understand it, where a lot of people say there's no character development, but personally, I don't really see it because we don't need a lot because there's scenes that show who these people are. Like Steve, he's got his one-liners. Kenneth, we get development. Anna, we get development. CJ, we have like the best arc. And then like for the girl, the older lady, what more do you need from her? She saves these people and she's and you can see she's caring. Like, I don't get the complaint. I guess to a certain extent I do because it's not like the four characters. But like you said,
right,
this one was different.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was my next point I want to talk about is, so there are really two types of remakes to me. There are the remakes that almost do it shot for shot, like Night of the Living Dead remake. They improved some stuff, which I really loved, but it was mostly shot for shot, or beat for beat at the very least. Whereas this type of remake, which I also enjoy for different reasons, took the spirit of the original and the basic concept of the original, but really made it their own thing. It's called Dawn of the Dead. It's in a mall. It's got zombies. There's a lot of references. So yeah, clearly it's a remake, but it's also very much its own separate thing. And I like that as well. I think the two types of remake can be valid for their own way. I find this one could lean to being better because when you do a shot for shot remake, you compare it a lot more to the original, and it's very, very difficult to match, let alone top the original. And it's very rare that you see that. Whereas I like this version of a remake where they take the spirit of something but make it different enough to kind of warrant its existence. So I appreciate that a lot about this one, and that's why it's one of my favorite remakes.
No, 100% agree. And it doesn't make me mad too when people say they prefer the remake over the original. I know they're wrong, personally. I'm just kidding, but no, because it's such a good movie, and I can see why, especially a younger generation, would prefer it because it's balls to wall action opposed to original, where it's a lot of contemplation and things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I had for this one.
Yeah, me too. 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd for me translates to a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, and I'm exactly there as well. There are a few issues, a little bit of pacing stuff, a little bit, like we said, of turn off your brain, because if you overthink it, it's a little goofy. But overall, I have a blast watching this. I was super happy to rewatch it. It's just like one that I watch typically every like 2-3 years at the most. And I enjoy it every time. Like I said, I think it was 4 times in theaters. I went to see it twice, like 2 days in a row, right when it came out, because it was 2 different groups of friends. And then I went back with another friend so we both saw it for the second time. And then I think I went at the end of its run when it was like super cheap. It was like $5, So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, no, saw it twice, and I still remember. That's one of those movies you remember, the theater experience. So
yeah, I was just out of college, so it was like a good time for me to see stuff like that.
Yeah, as a junior or a senior, something like that. Senior. So yeah, it was a good movie.
For sure. All right. Well, next week is the big one. It's
80s.
Our top 10 of the 1980s. It's going to be a hell of an episode. We've been talking about this episode basically since we started the decade thing, like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough one, I think. My list is like pretty much done, but yeah, every time I look at it, I start questioning my decisions, and
yeah,
I don't know.
It's mood based too,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. These lists always are, right? It's especially things that we have nostalgia for, because then you have to fight nostalgia versus actually being good versus a bunch of other, like, this is my favorite, but the other one's better. And it's just constant back and forth. And it's hard not to get influenced, I find, because I've been looking up lists just to see if I'm missing anything. And it's like, well, everyone thinks this one should be a top 10, but I don't feel it's a top 10. Should I put it a top 10? But no, I can't put it a top 10.
It's my list.
It's my list. Fuck them, or the opposite, right? Like, I think this is a top 10. No one else puts it on their top 10, but too bad. I think this one's a great, it's just this constant inner battle of, it's great. This episode is always a fun one, but it's like one of my favorite episodes every year. So definitely looking forward to it. And we get Joe back. We get our cup of Joe. Yeah, so that'll be fun as well.
No trivia next week, right?
Nope, no, we're on a trivia break.
Trivia break.
Big trivia lull, but it's going to come back the week after when we go back to our
comeback hard.
Yeah, regularly programming the schedule, and a lot. We're going into. I was looking at the release dates and stuff. We're going into like a solid 2-3 month run of major releases and a lot of horror releases on Shudder, and we're going to have probably a good amount of interviews. We got a pretty interesting one set for. I think we're gonna put it out in 2 weeks, but we're recording it next week. It'll be an interesting time that we have our event that is on October 22nd in Salem.
That's right around the corner.
Omri Katz. It'll be the first time ever that we all meet in person.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy. A crazy fall ahead of us.
Yeah, I hope some of the Discorders come out too. That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk about it every episode almost until it happens. So plenty of reminders and stuff. But yeah, fun episode. Really enjoyed it. Me and Todd already said that if ever Joe pieces out again, we're going to do Day of the Dead.
Yeah, and then we'll do Land of the Dead. We'll do all the Deads.
All the Deads, yeah, at some point.
We'll just do Romero movies or Romero-esque movies.
Right, absolutely.
For sure.
All right, and yeah, so like I said, also check out our Prey review on the Let's XP Geeking Gaming podcast, because it is, kind of horror as well as sci-fi. So yeah, check it out.
All right, thanks for listening.
Yeah, bye.
See ya.